It's my pleasure to present an update for NexGen to you today. All right, well, you're looking right there at our cover page. That's our Rook 1 camp. It has grown substantially over the last 3 years. It houses up to 100 plus people. We've been running 7-rig drill programs last year, and we're about to start another 7-rig, 35,000 meter drill program next week. The disclaimer you can find on our website. So I'm really going to hit home 3 key points before I get going here, and they're real good takeaways about NexGen. So the key thing to NexGen are our people. It's been really good in the fact that it's been a down market. We've been able to pick up some really good, talented, technical and professional people from Claude, from Cameco, and all around. And that has been one of the main drivers of what we consider one of the best projects on the planet. And that's our Arrow deposit. So it's got a maiden resource that was put out in March of this year of 202 million pounds at a grade of 2.63%. And it's out of date because that only accounts up to drilling it to the end of 2015. So, and the key thing about Arrow is it really does exhibit traits like none other in the Athabasca Basin that I'll get into shortly. Also, the key thing is we're not in Africa. We're in a really good jurisdiction. We don't have to worry about the government pulling the wool over our eyes at the last minute when we try to go permitting. Saskatchewan's ranked number 2 by the Fraser Institute as the best mining jurisdiction in the world. So those are 3 key points to remember. Just to get you focused in on where we are in northern Saskatchewan, you can see 3 large blocks on the southwest edge of the Athabasca. I'm going to be focused in on that middle block, but it's very close to Highway 955. And it's about 155 kilometers north of La Loche, which is not too far away, not too close to the nearest town. And the Cleft Lake mine, which was depleted in 2002, is about 70 kilometers north of our project. So like I said, zooming into the Rook 1 property, you can see on the far west side, that's the Patterson corridor. There's a 14-kilometer strike length of known mineralization from drilling, and NexGen's property contains 9 of that 14 kilometers. So it's definitely a dominant land position. You can also see Highway 955 running north-south. The further you get east of that highway onto the other grade line corridors, there's been less and less exploration to the point where there's been no drill holes. And this is a brand new district. It really was opened up in 2002, but yet there's already over 300 million pounds of 43-101 resource between ourselves and next door neighbors. So the discovery of Arrow occurred on February 2014. Literally 2 years later, we came up with our maiden, like I said, at 202 million pounds at 2.6%. Now, on an inferred basis. Now, that's about 26 times the world production grade average. So, and some key attributes that Arrow has is that it's 100% in competent basement rocks. Doesn't look like there's going to be freezing in order to extract the high grade. Also, it's 100% on land. I mean, Saskatchewan has a lot of lakes, and there's no lake on top of our deposit, which simplifies things quite a bit. So like I said, the maiden resource only comprised 82 drill holes, about 55,000 meters. Since that maiden resource, we've drilled 73,000 meters, and that's why the maiden resource is so out of date right now. Going to the resilience of the resource, I mean, we use a cutoff of 0.25. At Eagle Point, they've gone as low as 0.1. When you take that cutoff to 10%, which is it's very high. It's 100 times the global world average. Then you still end up with 101 million pounds at a grade of almost 21%. And now that's above like Cigar Lake, and that's MacArthur type grades. So that high grade core should provide good payback very quickly. And just to give you a feel of how Arrow stacks up to all the other deposits in the Athabasca, you can see like it goes from very shallow to quite deep into the basement rocks. Again, they're very competent. I've been told that the rocks at Arrow are actually even more competent than what you see at Eagle Point. At Eagle Point, they do long hole stoping underground. It's a very, relatively cheap, conventional underground mining method. And then when you look over to the Cigar Lakes and MacArthur, you can see all that yellow sandstone. That's what they're having to freeze because the mineralization is right up to that contact. We don't have that issue. Right now, this is how Arrow looks. It runs northeast, southwest trend. It's got five shear zones that are mineralized. And you also notice to the southwest that there's a 180-meter southwest step out. We drilled 3 holes in the gap. They all hit mineralization. This is not part of the maiden resource at all. So we did some pretty good advancements to the resource over 2016 that we will be releasing in an updated resource in March or April of this year. Key thing here, Arrow is still wide open. So when you look at the plan view from the maiden resource on the left there, that's what RPA put together, and you can see it's quite a bit leaner than when we modeled it up to the end of 2016 from drilling that we did, the 73,000 meters. And looking at it in cross section. Again, the RPA model on the left, and then on the right side, that's our internal NexGen model that will be getting audited by RPA. Now, a key thing with the 82 holes that were drilled in the maiden resource, our best and most mineralized holes have actually come after that resource. Hole 63C2 actually had the best composite GT on record in the Athabasca Basin or in the world for that matter, and that's not included in the maiden. So really, we expect the additional drilling that we did in 2016 to really add up and give a better picture of what Arrow is, but we still don't know. It's because it's still wide open. You can see all the drill holes that have hit outside of that purple grade shell that was RPA's A2 high grade domain. That was 120 million pounds at a grade of 13.3%. So also during 2016, we made a new discovery of high grade in the A1 shear. It's been a fairly quiet shear up until hole 84 hit, followed up with hole 98C1, where we had 21 meters of 4% associated with massive, semi-massive pitch blend. It's quite heavy. That's key because you add pounds a lot faster when you've got very dense material. And looking in long section at a conceptual plan, the grade shells from RPA, this is looking to the northwest. You can see further to the southwest or to the left in that diagram, that's the 180 meter step out, and then the holes in the gap. You can really see that there's a lot more room for those grade shells to expand over, and is wide open to the southwest for sure. Also, we discovered the Harpoon, and that was done in August of last year. Hole 8 hit about 17 meters of mineralization with about 4.5 meters of off scale associated with massive, semi-massive pitch blend. This looks like it's on trend with Spitfire. So we've got a strike length already of about 350 meters. Spitfire looks like it's about the same strike length. It's looking like it could turn into something quite significant when you take into consideration both the mineralized zones on both properties. Spitfire is owned by Cameco, Areva, and 20% by Pierpoint. We've also had some great discoveries further to the northeast of Arrow with Cannon, with Bow. We're going to revisit Bow in the winter. It's a shallow lake ice target. But again, it really hits home. Like we're barely scratching the surface here, and we'll continue to optimize 75% drilling at Arrow while doing regional drilling of about 25%. So going forward here, we've got a 35,000 meter drill program starting next week. We're going to release the updated 4301 resource in March or April this year. We're going to continue with pre-feasibility, feasibility studies, and then we'll do it all over again in the second half of 2017, where we'll end with a pre-feasibility study, also an updated resource again. So we'll be doing 2 updated resources in 2017. Now we have local prosperity programs. We have a dog fostering program where we bring them from the shelter, and then we also support high school kids and we train them up from local communities. Just some of the upgrades we've done this past year. We basically put extra roads in. 13-kilometer road went in from Highway 955 all the way to our camp, and this has cut down a lot of cost on ice building and on helicopter costs. So we brought in a new kitchen. We also brought in a new office, new dries. It's all coming together quite nicely. It looks quite good actually when you're on the site. And that is about it. Travis McPherson is the guy that you'll probably contact first when you get a hold of NexGen. But thanks very much for your time.